Ben Tennyson stood on his apartment balcony, staring at the night sky with a strange emptiness in his chest. 5 years had passed since he'd last transformed. 5 years of normal life. No alien threats, no universe-ending disasters, just ordinary existence. The kind most people dream about. He should have been happy, right? The stars twinkled above Bellwood, unchanged from when he was 10 years old, wielding the most powerful device in the universe. Back then, every night held the promise of adventure. Now, at 25, his nights were filled with takeout dinners and streaming shows he barely paid attention to. "You got what you wanted," he muttered to himself, running a thumb over his bare wrist where the Omnitrix once sat. The device had been deactivated years ago, a mutual decision between him and Azimuth after the last great threat had been neutralized. The universe was at peace. It didn't need a hero anymore. Ben took a sip from his coffee mug, grimacing at the cold liquid. That's when he felt it. A strange, tingling sensation crawling up his spine. The hairs on his arms stood on end as a pulse of emerald energy rippled across the night sky, so quick he almost thought he'd imagined it. But then his wrist began to burn. Ben dropped his mug, barely registering the crash as ceramic shattered on the balcony floor. A familiar green glow emanated from his skin, pulsing with increasing intensity. The air around him seemed to vibrate, molecules dancing with energy he hadn't felt in years. "No way!" he whispered, eyes wide as the light coalesced, taking shape. The outline of the Omnitrix materialized, its contours both familiar and somehow different, more angular, more alien. The device solidified on his wrist with a mechanical click that sent shivers down his spine. The Omnitrix was back, but how? Why? Before he could process what was happening, the dial began to spin wildly. Alien silhouettes flashed across the display in rapid succession, faster than he'd ever seen. Static filled his ears, growing louder until it formed words, a voice he didn't recognize. "You were never meant to wield this. It's time for a new protector." Ben's breath caught in his throat. "Who is this? What do you mean?" Pain shot through his arm like lightning, radiating from the Omnitrix outward. The device was changing, its structure morphing before his eyes. The dial spun faster, the green glow intensifying until it was blinding. "Wait!" Ben cried out, trying to access the controls, but his fingers passed through the holographic interface. "Stop!" The Omnitrix didn't respond to his commands. Instead, it pulsed once more, sending a shockwave of energy through his entire body. Ben's vision blurred, darkness creeping in from the edges. The last thing he saw was the night sky spinning above him as he collapsed. Then, nothing. Heat. Intense, suffocating heat was the first sensation that registered when Ben regained consciousness. His eyes fluttered open, immediately stinging from smoke and ash. He wasn't on his balcony anymore. He wasn't even in Bellwood. Flames danced around him, consuming what looked like the remnants of a small town. Buildings reduced to rubble. Cars overturned and burning. The sky above was choked with thick, black smoke, tinged with an unnatural purple hue. Ben tried to push himself up, but his body felt wrong. Heavier, stronger, alien. He looked down at his hands and froze. Claws. Dark, crimson scales. Pulsing veins of raw energy running beneath the surface. "What the—" His voice came out deeper, resonant, with a slight echo that wasn't human. This wasn't right. This wasn't any alien transformation he recognized. Ben staggered to his feet, his new form towering at least 7 feet tall. In the distance, he could hear screams, people fleeing from something or someone. A shattered storefront window caught his reflection, and Ben stopped cold. The creature staring back at him was unlike any alien he'd ever transformed into. His face was elongated, almost draconic, with ridged scales running along his jawline. His eyes glowed with unstable energy, not the solid green of his transformations, but a swirling vortex of power that seemed barely contained. The Omnitrix was nowhere to be seen on his wrist. Instead, a strange symbol was embedded in his chest, pulsing with each heartbeat. "This isn't an Omnitrix transformation," Ben whispered, touching the symbol cautiously. "What happened to me?" A mechanical whirring sound from above interrupted his thoughts. Ben looked up to see a sleek drone hovering 20 feet overhead, its lens focusing on him with a red targeting beam. "Subject located," came a robotic voice. "DNA signature confirmed. Prepare for extraction." Ben's instinct screamed danger. "Wait, I don't know what's going on." The drone fired, not waiting for him to finish. Ben dove to the side, his new body moving with surprising agility despite its size. The energy blast hit where he'd been standing, cratering the ground and sending debris flying in all directions. "I don't want to fight!" Ben shouted, raising his hands in surrender. "I just want to know what's happening!" The drone adjusted its position, preparing to fire again. Ben concentrated, trying to access the familiar mental connection to the Omnitrix, searching for a way to transform back to human. Nothing happened. The drone fired again, and this time Ben couldn't move fast enough. The blast caught him in the shoulder, sending him flying backward through the wall of an already damaged building. Pain radiated through his body as he crashed through concrete and steel, landing in what appeared to be an abandoned office space. Ben groaned, pushing debris off himself. The wound on his shoulder was already healing, the scales knitting back together with unnatural speed. Whatever he had become, it was resilient. "Okay," he muttered. "If I can't change back, maybe I can at least figure out what powers this form has." He concentrated, focusing on the energy he could feel coursing through his body. His clawed hand began to glow, power gathering at his fingertips. When he released it, a blast of crimson energy shot forward, disintegrating a desk 20 feet away. "Whoa," Ben breathed, staring at his hand. "That's new." The sound of footsteps caught his attention. Not the mechanical whirring of the drone, but something else. Something human. Or at least humanoid. Ben turned toward the gaping hole in the wall, tensing for another attack. A figure stepped through the dust and debris, hooded and cloaked in midnight blue. Their face was hidden in shadow, but there was no mistaking the blue glow emanating from their wrist. An Omnitrix, but not his. Not green, but blue. "You need to leave," the figure said, voice firm but young, possibly female, though it was hard to tell. "You're not ready for this fight." Ben pushed himself to his feet, wincing as his healing body protested. "Who are you? What did you do to my Omnitrix?" The figure stood perfectly still, the blue glow of their device casting eerie shadows across the ruined office. There was a pause, just long enough to make Ben uneasy. "It's not yours anymore," they finally said. Before Ben could respond, the figure slammed down on their Omnitrix. A flash of blue light temporarily blinded him, and when his vision cleared, the figure had transformed into a sleek, crystalline alien Ben had never seen before. It resembled Diamond Head in structure, but with flowing, liquid-like movements. The alien raised its arm, and the floor beneath Ben's feet suddenly liquefied. He sank up to his knees in what had moments ago been solid concrete, now transformed into a quicksand-like substance. "Wait!" Ben struggled, trying to free himself. "I don't understand what's happening. Where am I? What year is this?" The crystalline alien tilted its head, as if considering whether to answer. Then, in a voice that sounded like water flowing over stones, it spoke. "You're 10 years in your future, Ben Tennyson, and you're not supposed to be here." With that, the alien slammed its fist into the ground. The entire building began to shake. walls crumbling around them. Ben roared in frustration, channeling energy into his trapped limbs. With a surge of strength, he tore free from the liquefied floor, lunging toward the mysterious transformer. But the alien was faster. It melted into the floor, disappearing completely. A moment later, the blue flash of detransformation lit up the street outside. Ben crashed through what remained of the wall, just in time to see the hooded figure sprinting away. "Stop!" he called out. "I just want answers!" The figure paused, looking back over their shoulder. Though their face remained hidden, Ben could feel their gaze boring into him. "Find Paradox," they said, voice carrying on the wind. "He's the only one who can help you now." With that, they slammed their Omnitrix again. The blue flash momentarily illuminated the ruined street, and when it faded, a streak of light shot into the sky, disappearing among the stars. Ben stood alone in the devastation, his transformed body humming with unfamiliar power. Professor Paradox, the time-traveling enigma who had helped him so many times before. If anyone could explain what was happening, it would be him. But how to find him? Paradox had always appeared when needed, rarely summoned. A distant explosion drew Ben's attention. Several blocks away, more drones were converging on something or someone. Screams echoed through the ruined town. Whatever was happening, people were in danger. And despite his confusion, despite being trapped in this strange form in what was apparently his own future, one thing remained constant. Ben Tennyson protected people. He flexed his clawed hands, feeling the power surging through him. He might not understand this transformation, but he could use it. "Hang on," he muttered, breaking into a run toward the commotion. "I'm coming!" As he ran, the symbol on his chest pulsed brighter. With each step, Ben felt the power within him growing, becoming harder to control. Energy crackled around him, scorching the ground where he stepped. Whatever had happened to the Omnitrix, whatever had happened to him, one thing was clear. This power was unstable, dangerous. He skidded to a halt at the edge of what once might have been a town square. 3 drones surrounded a small group of civilians, taking shelter behind an overturned bus. Among them, Ben spotted a familiar face, an older, battle-worn Kevin Levin. "Kevin!" Ben called out, his transformed voice carrying across the square. Kevin's head snapped up, eyes widening in shock and then narrowing in fury. "You!" he snarled, hands gripping a piece of metal, absorbing its properties. "I should have known you'd come back." Ben stopped, confused. "Kevin, it's me. It's Ben." Kevin laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "I know exactly who you are." He stepped forward, his body now completely covered in steel armor. "And I'm not falling for this trick again." Before Ben could respond, Kevin charged, metal fists raised for battle. Ben raised his hands in surrender. "Kevin, wait! I don't know what's going on. I just woke up here." His words were cut short as Kevin's fist connected with his jaw, sending him flying backward. Ben crashed into a half-collapsed building, debris raining down around him. 10 years, Kevin growled, advancing slowly. 10 years since you betrayed us all, and now you have the nerve to come back wearing that face? Ben pushed himself up, spitting out a mouthful of blood that sizzled when it hit the ground. "I didn't betray anyone! I'm from the past, Kevin! I don't know what happened here!" Kevin hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. "Prove it," he demanded. "Tell me something only the real Ben would know." Ben's mind raced. "When we were kids after I first got the Omnitrix, you tried to steal it. You ended up absorbing its power and it drove you crazy. Years later, you helped me and Gwen fight the hybrid invasion. You dated my cousin. Your favorite car was that black and green Challenger that you rebuilt 3 times after alien fights trashed it." Kevin's stance softened slightly, confusion replacing anger. That could be information anyone could find. Your mom's name is Leah, Ben continued desperately. Your favorite food is chili fries, but only from Mr. Smoothies because everywhere else doesn't get the cheese right. When you were 15, you had a nightmare about being trapped as that mutated form again, and you called me at 3 in the morning just to make sure you were still human. Kevin lowered his fists, shock evident on his face. Ben? But how? You can't be. You're... A blast from one of the drones interrupted him, striking the ground between them. Kevin cursed, diving back toward the civilians. We don't have time for this, he shouted. If you're really Ben, then help me get these people to safety. Ben nodded, turning to face the drones. He raised his hands, channeling the strange energy flowing through him. Crimson blasts shot from his palms, destroying 2 of the drones instantly. The third veered away, but Ben was faster now, anticipating its movements. He leapt into the air, higher than he expected, nearly clearing a 2-story building, and caught the drone mid-flight, crushing it in his clawed hands. He landed with a heavy thud, the ground cracking beneath his feet. The power was becoming easier to control, responding to his thoughts more naturally. Kevin stared at him, a mixture of awe and suspicion on his face. That's not an alien transformation I've ever seen you use before. It's not, Ben confirmed, looking down at his transformed body. I don't know what this is. One minute I was on my balcony, the next the Omnitrix was back on my wrist, changing. Then I woke up here, like this. Kevin's expression darkened. The Omnitrix? Ben, you destroyed the Omnitrix years ago, right before you... He trailed off, looking uncomfortable. Before I what, Kevin? Ben pressed. Kevin shook his head. We need to get these people to the safe zone first, then we'll talk. He turned to the huddled civilians. It's clear for now. Let's move. As the group hurried through the ruined streets, Ben fell into step beside Kevin. Where's Gwen? He asked quietly. Is she okay? Kevin's jaw tightened. Gwen's alive. That's all you need to know right now. And Grandpa Max? My parents? Safe, Kevin replied curtly. Most of the plumbers are. They turned down an alleyway, coming to what appeared to be a dead end. Kevin pressed his hand against a specific brick, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a staircase leading underground. Quickly, he urged the civilians, who hurried inside. Once they were through, Kevin turned to Ben. You too. We need to figure out what's going on. Ben hesitated. There was someone else here. They had an Omnitrix too, a blue one. They told me to find Professor Paradox. Kevin's eyes widened. You saw the Sentinel, and they spoke to you? The Sentinel? Is that what they're called? Kevin nodded grimly. They showed up about a year ago, fighting against, well, fighting to protect what's left. No one knows who they are. Some think they're from another dimension. Others say Azimuth created a new Omnitrix after everything. Ben frowned. After what, Kevin? What happened here? Kevin sighed heavily, looking around to ensure they were alone. After you went rogue, Ben. After you became Ultimatum. Ultimatum? I don't understand. That's what you call yourself now, Kevin said, gesturing to Ben's transformed state. Or at least, what the you from this time calls himself. You're not an alien transformation, Ben. You're something else. Something the Omnitrix was never supposed to create. Ben looked down at his hands, at the pulsing energy beneath his scales. But I would never... A distant explosion cut him off. The ground shook beneath their feet. He's coming, Kevin said, suddenly urgent. We need to get underground now. Who's coming? Kevin grabbed Ben's arm, pulling him toward the hidden entrance. You are! As they descended into the darkness, Ben's mind raced with questions. What had happened to turn him into this ultimatum? How had he gone from hero to apparent villain? And who was this mysterious sentinel with the blue,